Hello, miladies of inestimable value. Some people command attention when they enter a room. Sigma females do it without even trying. There's something undeniably magnetic about a Sigma female. She isn't the loudest, the flashiest, or the one desperately seeking the spotlight. Yet when she walks in, heads turn, conversations pause, and eyes linger a little too long. But why? What makes people stare at her as if she's an unsolved mystery? Here's a fact. Studies show that humans are naturally drawn to individuals who exhibit unpredictable behavior or break social norms. And guess what? The Sigma female is a walking paradox. She blends in yet stands out, engages yet remains elusive, radiates confidence yet moves in silence. It's like spotting a rare animal in the wild. You don't mean to stare, but you just have to. Maybe it's her aura of independence, the way she moves with effortless purpose, or that unreadable expression that makes people wonder, what is she thinking? Maybe it's because, in a world obsessed with validation, she simply doesn't care. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain. When a Sigma female is around, staring isn't just inevitable, it's instinctual. And today we're diving deep into the 10 brutally honest reasons why people just can't look away. Buckle up, because this isn't your typical strong woman story. It's something far more intriguing. Number 1, moves with purpose, not for attention. Some people move through life like they're performing on a stage, over-explaining their actions, making exaggerated gestures, constantly seeking validation. A Sigma female is the exact opposite. She moves with quiet purpose, every action deliberate, never wasted. This is what makes people stare. There's something oddly captivating about someone who doesn't fidget, doesn't overreact, and doesn't move just to fill space. When a Sigma female walks, she walks with intention. When she reaches for something, she does it without hesitation. There's no nervous energy, no awkwardness, just a calm, controlled presence. It's unsettling in a way most people can't explain. In social situations, this is even more noticeable. While others lean in too much, play with their hair, or shift uncomfortably, she remains still. Her body language speaks before she does, confident but never arrogant, aware but never overly eager. She doesn't make unnecessary hand gestures to emphasize her words. She doesn't nod along just to seem agreeable. If she laughs, it's because she actually finds something funny, not because she feels obligated to. This level of control is rare, and people are drawn to it whether they realize it or not. It signals a level of self-assurance that doesn't need external reinforcement. She isn't moving to be seen. She isn't adjusting her posture to appear more likable. She simply exists on her own terms, and that, ironically, is what makes her so noticeable. Most people are used to others adjusting their energy to fit the room. A Sigma female doesn't. Her movements don't scream for attention, but they command respect. She isn't stiff or robotic, just natural in a way that feels refreshingly real. It's why people can't help but stare. She moves like she knows exactly where she's going, even if no one else does. And in a world full of uncertainty, that kind of quiet confidence is impossible to ignore. Number 2, a smile that isn't for everyone. Most people hand out smiles like business cards, polite, automatic, and often meaningless. A Sigma female doesn't. She doesn't plaster on a grin just to make others comfortable, and she certainly doesn't fake amusement to blend in. When she smiles, it's because she means it, and that's exactly why people stare. There's a mystery in her restraint. In a world where people are used to forced politeness and social niceties, her selective smiles feel rare, almost like a reward. People watch her, waiting, wondering, will I be the one to earn it? They lean in a little closer, crack another joke, try just a little harder, all in hopes of seeing that genuine flicker of amusement cross her face. And when it does happen, it's unforgettable. A Sigma female's smile holds weight. It isn't a performance, isn't designed to please or appease, it's real. That's why it hits differently. It carries meaning, intention, and sometimes a quiet challenge. Congratulations, you actually did something worth my time. On the flip side, when she doesn't smile, it unsettles people. They aren't used to a woman who doesn't feel the need to soften every interaction with an obligatory grin. She doesn't adjust her expression to make others comfortable, and that throws people off. Some take it as indifference, others as intimidation. Either way, they can't look away. It's not that she's cold or unapproachable, it's just that her approval isn't something freely given. And in a world where people are desperate for validation, that makes her presence all the more magnetic. Number 3, the magnetic stillness in a room of noise. In a world where people talk just to fill silence, a Sigma female's stillness is almost unnerving. She doesn't need to dominate the conversation, overshare, or insert herself just to be noticed. Instead, she listens, fully, attentively, and with an intensity that makes people hyper-aware of her presence. While others fidget, shift, and scramble for attention, she remains steady. There's no nervous energy, no unnecessary movement, just quiet, unshaken composure. And that alone makes people stare. It's rare to see someone so at ease in their own silence, someone who doesn't need external validation to feel secure. People expect reactions. They expect nods of agreement, murmurs of approval, exaggerated expressions, but the Sigma female gives nothing away. She absorbs everything, offering no clues about what she's thinking. That unreadable nature makes others second-guess themselves. Did I say something stupid? Is she impressed? Bored? The uncertainty is both intimidating and intriguing. What's even more unsettling is that she seems to see everything. While others are too busy talking over each other, she picks up on details, micro-expressions, shifts in body language, the unspoken tensions in the room, and people feel that. They may not know why, but something about her presence makes them more aware of themselves, more conscious of the way they're acting. Stillness, when owned with confidence, is powerful. It disrupts the chaos, commands attention, and creates an aura of quiet dominance. She doesn't have to fight for space in a conversation. People will naturally adjust around her. Even in a room full of noise, she stands out, not because she's the loudest, but because she doesn't need to be. Number 4, no hesitation in holding eye contact. Eye contact is a game most people don't even realize they're playing until they're up against a Sigma female. While the average person glances away after a few seconds, out of habit or discomfort, she doesn't. She holds her gaze with a quiet, unwavering confidence that forces people to either match her energy or shrink under it. There's no arrogance in the way she looks at people, no attempt to dominate. It's simply direct, intentional, and completely unbothered. She isn't staring to intimidate, but she also isn't looking away to make anyone feel at ease. And that throws people off. Most are used to eye contact that comes with nervous smiles, exaggerated reactions, or subtle submission. With her, there's none of that. Just stillness, presence, and a gaze that seems to see through people rather than just at them. This makes interactions with her unforgettable. Some find it mesmerizing, even magnetic, like she's truly seeing them in a way most never do. Others feel exposed, as if she can sense every insecurity they're trying to hide. Either way, they can't ignore it. When she speaks, her eye contact doesn't waver, making every word feel deliberate. When she listens, she doesn't break focus, making people hyper-aware of themselves. There's no escape in the usual distractions. No looking at her phone, no nervous glances away, no unnecessary blinking to ease the tension. Just pure, uninterrupted attention. For those who can handle it, her gaze is a rare kind of respect, an acknowledgement that she values the conversation enough to stay fully engaged. For those who can't, it's a quiet challenge, one that exposes just how much they rely on social niceties to feel comfortable. Either way, people remember it, and that's why they stare at her, long after she's looked away. Number 5, speaks when necessary, not to fill silence. Most people fear silence. They fill it with empty words, nervous laughter, or mindless chatter just to keep the conversation going. A Sigma female doesn't. She lets silence sit, unbothered by its weight. And that alone makes people stare. When she speaks, it's never just to make noise. She doesn't repeat what's already been said, doesn't talk over others, and doesn't blurt out half-formed thoughts just to avoid an awkward pause. Instead, she listens, fully, completely, then responds with precision. Every word she chooses has purpose, and that's what keeps people fixated. Her self-control is rare. In a world where people equate talking with power, she wields hers differently. She doesn't rush to fill the air just to prove she belongs. She speaks only when she has something worth saying, and when she does, people actually listen. There's no fluff, no filler, just direct, intentional communication. This ability makes her presence feel heavier, even when she says nothing at all. The pauses between her words hold weight, forcing others to lean in, to think before they respond. It shifts the dynamic of every conversation. People accustomed to rapid-fire exchanges suddenly find themselves slowing down, mirroring her energy, waiting for her cue instead of dominating the space. And when she doesn't respond immediately, that unsettles people even more. They second-guess their words, wondering if they said something foolish, if she's analyzing them, if she simply doesn't care. The uncertainty makes them hyper-aware of her presence, locked into the conversation even when she's silent. In the end, it's not just what she says that makes people stare. It's how she says it. Controlled, measured, with a confidence that makes every word land. And in a world addicted to constant noise, that kind of quiet power is impossible to ignore. Number 6. A confidence that feels earned, not performed. Confidence is easy to fake. Loud voices, exaggerated gestures, and forced assertiveness often pass for self-assurance. But people can sense when it's just a performance. A Sigma female doesn't need theatrics. Her confidence isn't something she puts on for show. It's something she owns. And that's why people can't ignore it. There's a weight to the way she carries herself. She doesn't overcompensate, doesn't seek validation, and doesn't feel the need to announce her presence. Her confidence comes from experience, from knowing herself so well that she has nothing to prove. It's the difference between someone pretending to be fearless and someone who genuinely is. People stare because they're not used to this kind of certainty. Most confidence they encounter is performative, built on external approval, social status, or fragile ego. But hers? It's different. It's silent, unshakable, and entirely self-sufficient. She doesn't flex her accomplishments, yet they show in the way she moves. She doesn't demand respect, yet she receives it effortlessly. This makes her presence both intriguing and intimidating. Some admire her, drawn to the calm certainty she exudes. Others feel exposed, realizing how much of their own confidence depends on outside factors. And then there are those who mistake her quiet strength for arrogance, because they can't comprehend a woman who doesn't seek permission to exist as she is. Her confidence is steady, not loud. It's the kind that doesn't need an audience. It's why she can stand alone in a crowded room without looking lost, why she doesn't flinch under pressure, why she speaks with conviction rather than volume. It's a presence people feel before they even realize they're staring. In a world where so many are trying to convince others they're confident, she simply is. And that difference? It's impossible to fake and impossible to ignore. Number 7. The vibe that says, I don't need you, but I choose to be here. Most people are used to a certain social script, one where validation, approval, and a sense of belonging drive behavior. The Sigma female doesn't follow that script. She doesn't cling, doesn't chase, and doesn't build connections out of fear of being alone. Instead, she operates from a place of want, not need. And that difference is what makes people obsessed with earning her attention. In relationships, she never over-explains, never begs for affection, and never forces connections. If she's with you, it's because she wants to be, not because she's afraid of being alone. That certainty is rare. It makes people hyper-aware of the fact that she could walk away at any moment and be completely fine. That kind of quiet self-sufficiency is both alluring and intimidating. In friendships, she doesn't engage in forced loyalty or superficial bonds. She doesn't need a large circle of acquaintances to feel validated. She values depth over quantity, and that makes her presence feel exclusive. People don't just assume they have access to her, they have to earn it. And once they realize she won't stick around out of obligation, they find themselves working harder to keep her attention. In the workplace, she isn't concerned with office politics or trying to please everyone. She focuses on results, not approval. Unlike others who attach their self-worth to titles, recognition, or workplace popularity, she simply does her job, efficiently, strategically, and without unnecessary theatrics. This unnerves people because she refuses to play the game, yet somehow she still commands respect. Her energy is rare in a world where so many seek validation through relationships, friendships, and work dynamics. She never pressures, never demands, never begs, and that's exactly why people crave her attention. Because they know deep down that she doesn't need them. She chooses them. And that choice? It holds far more power than desperation ever could. Number 8. Authenticity that feels almost alien. In a world where people curate their personalities like social media profiles, adjusting, filtering, and tailoring themselves to fit different crowds, the Sigma female does something almost unheard of. She stays exactly the same. She doesn't water herself down, doesn't shapeshift to be more likable, and doesn't adopt false personas to blend in. Her authenticity is so raw, so unfiltered that it feels almost alien, and that's why people can't stop staring. Most people live in a constant state of quiet self-editing. They laugh at jokes they don't find funny, nod along to opinions they don't agree with, and suppress parts of themselves just to be accepted. The Sigma female doesn't play that game. She's the same person whether she's in a crowded room or completely alone, whether she's with close friends or total strangers. There's no performance, no hidden agenda, just her. This level of self-trust is both fascinating and unsettling. Some admire her for it, drawn to her rare sense of inner peace. Others feel uncomfortable, confronted by the fact that they too have spent so much time being someone they're not. When someone like her exists, someone who refuses to conform, it forces people to question just how much of themselves they've been compromising. Her authenticity also makes her unpredictable. Because she doesn't follow social scripts or behave in expected ways, people can't quite figure her out. They can't manipulate her with approval or guilt-trip her into behaving a certain way. She doesn't need validation, so she doesn't chase it. That kind of freedom is both powerful and unnerving. People stare at her because deep down, they crave the kind of self-assurance she embodies. They wonder what it's like to move through life without constantly seeking permission to be themselves. And in a world full of masks, her refusal to wear one makes her unforgettable. Number 9. The unwritten challenge she represents. The Sigma female doesn't need to announce her strength. It's built into her presence. There's an unspoken challenge that radiates from her, one that doesn't require a single word. It's in the way she carries herself, the way she moves through the world with quiet confidence, as though she's already done the work of standing tall on her own. And without even acknowledging it, she silently asks, "Are you strong enough to stand beside me?" This isn't a challenge that's thrown in people's faces. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it's there, hanging in the air like a question that everyone can feel but few are willing to confront. She doesn't need you to prove yourself to her, but she expects you to prove it to yourself. People stare because they sense this silent ultimatum. It's not about impressing her or seeking her approval. It's about measuring up to the silent standard she's set, one that demands independence, strength, and self-assurance. Most people, caught in the chaos of needing others to fill the gaps in their own lives, aren't ready for that kind of challenge. They're accustomed to relationships that are built on dependence, on mutual validation, on balancing each other's insecurities. But with her, the game is different. She's not looking for someone to complete her, or to feed her sense of worth. She's already complete, already whole, already strong. And that can be intimidating. The realization that they might not be enough, that they might not be strong enough, independent enough, self-sufficient enough, often sends people into a spiral of self-doubt. And as they struggle to measure up to an unspoken standard, they can't help but stare at the woman who has clearly mastered that very thing. They watch, caught between fascination and fear, unsure if they'll ever be able to stand beside her as equals. The challenge she represents is one that's impossible to ignore. Number 10. An almost eerie level of composure. In the midst of chaos where most people lose their composure and react impulsively, the Sigma female remains eerily calm. A heated argument, a sudden change of plans, or unexpected bad news. For most, these situations are triggers for emotion, confusion, or panic, but not for her. She absorbs the storm around her without flinching. Her presence is steady as a rock in a wild river, and that's exactly what draws people in, almost making them uncomfortable. It's not that she's cold or unfeeling. It's that she's mastered the art of not reacting. While others scramble, fluster, or try to control the situation with urgency, She watches with a quiet awareness, evaluating the best course of action without the need for outward drama. People stare because they're waiting for her to crack, to show some sign of being human like everyone else, but she never does. It's like trying to get a reaction from stone. No matter how hard they push, she remains composed, collected, and unshaken. This level of self-control isn't common. Most people wear their emotions on their sleeves, and reactions are almost automatic. But for the Sigma female, emotions are tools to be used when necessary, not weapons to be displayed recklessly. Her calmness makes her seem detached, maybe even a little inhuman at times, like she's playing a game by different rules. That unpredictability in how she handles stress and conflict only fuels the mystery. People are unnerved by her composure because they expect her to behave in the typical way: panic, frustration, or at least some kind of visible emotional response. But when they see her remain completely unfazed, it's almost as if they're witnessing something beyond ordinary human reaction. It forces them to reevaluate their own responses to stress and wonder what it would feel like to have that kind of unwavering control. And that's why they can't look away. The Sigma female isn't someone you easily forget. She operates on a level few can reach, radiating a presence so unique that it forces people to take notice. From her quiet confidence and authentic demeanor to her rare ability to remain unfazed in the chaos of life, she becomes a magnetic force that leaves others questioning not only themselves but the way they've been navigating the world. She doesn't fit the mold, she shatters it. She isn't here to seek validation, prove herself, or meet anyone's expectations. Her strength, her composure, her very being stands as a testament to the power of self-trust and independence. People stare at her, captivated by her silence, drawn to her authenticity, and often left struggling to measure up. And while some may find her unapproachable or intimidating, it's the very qualities that make her stand apart that make her unforgettable. The Sigma female doesn't need anyone to define her. She defines herself, and that's the most powerful thing of all. So the next time someone's gaze lingers on you, know this: it's not just because you're different, it's because you're living proof of what it looks like to walk through the world with unshakable self-assurance. If you found this insight into the Sigma female as captivating as we know she is, don't forget to show some love. Hit that subscribe button to stay connected with more content that dives deep into what makes unique personalities stand out. Drop a like if this resonated with you, and feel free to leave a comment sharing your thoughts or experiences. Let's keep the conversation going. And of course, share this with anyone who might need a little more Sigma energy in their life. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.